Action. What's new, man?
Not much. Welcome to the UF podcast, everyone.
Welcome, guys.
For those of you who don't know, this is Curtis and I'm Jared.
We got a rainy day here in Pittsburgh. It's not bad though. Rainy days are good.
It's just gray. Pittsburgh's gray year round,
They're
except for summer maybe.
they're relaxing days.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, we didn't get like a lot of rain all the time. When it happened though, it was a lot at once. Like it didn't span over weeks like it does here, but man, it's so relaxing. You know, like it makes you slow down a little
Well, it was
bit.
like that warm rain today. It was like 66
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's kind of nice.
It was weird. I have. When's the last time you've been to a dermatologist?
I've never been to a dermatologist.
Really?
Yeah.
So I went today. First time since I was 16 years old, right? And she looked at me when I told her that, like I had three heads. I was like, I know. How often should I come? And she was like, once a year. And I was like, well, this is the first time I've been since I was 16. My wife has been on my case. You know, she sees a couple spots on my back that she doesn't like. She's like, well, let's start coming more than once every 16 years. And I was like, okay, all right, you could, just say come every year and we're fine. But man, they had to. There was a spot on my back.
They had to freeze it off.
No, they cut it off.
Are they gonna like analyze it?
Yeah. So she's looking around, like full body scan, and she's like, you have a lot of moles. I'm like, yeah, no shit, I know. She's like, the only one that bothers me is on your back, and it looks kind of funky. And she took a picture of it and zoomed in. The reason I'm saying this is like, we're all about health, okay? Like not just lifting, right? Get your body scanned, get all your blood work done, everything. So
It's not always pretty.
yeah. So she zooms in on it with her tablet, and it's crazy looking. Like you would never tell. Like if you said, "Hey, look at this mole right here," and I looked at it, I'd be like, it's different. But when you zoom in on it, man, it is wild looking. And she was like, "I want to go ahead and I want to scoop it out." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds fun." She's like, "That's the only word I can use. I know it doesn't sound great." So they numb it, and that hurt. That like it just burns. Like so she numbed it, and then she's talking to me, and then she's like, "All right, you're done." Couldn't even tell that she scooped it off or whatever. So got to send it out, get it checked. Hopefully it's nothing serious.
Yeah, I hope
But,
it's not.
I might be like bleeding through my shirt a little bit.
Well,
Well, it wouldn't be the first time blood's
Nope.
been in this place.
just cover this place in your DNA.
So anyway, yeah, go to your dermatologist, go to the dentist,
I
blood
love
work.
the dentist. Yeah.
What else? What else?
Anything and everything, really. Just get your checkups.
Get your checkups. Once a
Get
year.
them in. Go to your physical therapist.
Go to your physical therapist. Go to Union Fitness. So, man, what do we got today?
So we're going to talk about goal setting and like progress towards your goals, how to set goals, and then kind of how you take it from, everybody has like a big goal in mind, right? And I guess how do you get to that big goal? What are the small steps you take getting there?
Definitely. I mean, because, with me being involved in personal training for a long time, I've seen it, but it's not really that different compared to what Jared does as a physical therapist. Even though the issues are different, I don't want to call them issues, but the reasons that the patients and the clients are there are different. The plan of attack and the approach are very, very similar. So we're gonna kind of go over that. But I think I guess with January coming up soon, the new year, we all have big goals, right? It's
Resolution rush.
It's a time to kind of reset and reestablish your goals going forward. But regardless of time of year, everybody should have goals. It doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the year, the end of the year, the middle of the year. I think that regardless of if it's life or exercise or whatever, there have to be goals in place in order for us as humans and individuals to keep progressing and keep growing. So I think the issue lies with having only a big goal. It's good to have big goals, right? It's good to have something that I'm bad at is having like a 5-year planning, right? I've always had all these goals, but then I'm just now learning how to establish the plan to get there. And when you have a big goal, you get so focused and fired up about it that when it doesn't happen, maybe at the rate that you want it to or the way that you want it to, it can get very frustrating.
For sure.
So that's where you have to have these smaller goals. You have to set your priorities and your plan of attack to get to those goals to check them off. Jared and I were talking a little bit. It's kind of the first thing that comes to my mind is like building a house. When you decide like, hey, I want to have my house built in the year 2021. Well, how are you going to build that house?
You just build it, right?
Yeah, you just pop it up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like an Amish barn raising.
Yeah, it happens in a day, right? You have to first. You have to figure out, okay, where's the what's the piece of property? What people do I need in order to do this? I got to have the foundation. I got to have the framework, and that all has to be perfect. And then I'm siding, then I'm roofing, all that stuff. So this is really no different. With your patients that come into physical therapy, I'm sure there's a lot of frustration because they're hurt. They're not feeling good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what are some things that maybe you talk to them about? Do you lay out goals for their time in there? Or do you kind of play it by ear as it's happening? What are some things that you do?
Yeah, so that kind of, it's case to case, I think. Everybody's a little different. Everybody looks at things a little different. Some people come in, they haven't walked without a walker in 12 years, and they come to therapy, and they're like, I want to be able to jog again. And you're just like, let's work on just walking with a cane maybe,
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to bring people back, and sometimes people are very realistic, and they'll be like, I've had, this shoulder pain off and on for 5 years. I just want to be able to be strong enough to, mow my lawn, pick up stuff in my shed, overhead, things like that, and you can kind of go from there. So a lot of times it comes down to a real conversation with people and being real with someone about, what they should be able to achieve. And if someone surpasses that, great, but you gotta be realistic with both the short-term and the long-term goals. So what it looks like for me when I'm evaluating someone is we talk about the problem at hand, like, oh, your shoulder hurts. We see how bad it is, right? And then if they're like, well, I want to be pain-free and doing all these things again, I'm like, okay, great. So what were you doing before you were hurt, And then we have that conversation, see like what their baseline level was, and then our goal is to get them back to baseline and progress from there, and we'll take like small steps on the way. So for example, if baseline for someone was, let's just go off you can bench press 450 pounds about, right? Somewhere, ballpark, right?
Yep.
You hurt your shoulder, you can't really bench right now. So if we want to get you back to bench pressing 450 pounds, we're not just going to put that as our goal and that's it, right? We have to have milestones on the way. So let's say you can't even get under a bench right now. Our first goal would be able to get you to do some type of pain-free pressing, right? So we're going to work towards that. Once we can do some type of pain-free pressing, then it's going to go towards pain-free pressing with a barbell. It might not be a bench press, but it'll be with a barbell. And then from there, you start to add load in whatever pain-free motion you can, so on and so forth, till we can get you back under a bench and then get you back to the 450. In a PT perspective, like when I'm setting goals with people, we kind of base it off of that, right? So lifting plates into a cupboard, okay, you can't do that right now. We need to make sure you can lift your arm to 90 degrees without pain. Okay, you can do that. We need to make sure you can do that under load. Okay, you can do that. Can we get to 120, 150 degrees without pain? Now let's test it, So it's just the slow progression. So you need to kind of have landmarks as you go, and people need to be able to see that progress. Otherwise, when you set those big goals and you're not hitting that giant goal of bench pressing 450 pounds in 2 weeks after you blew your shoulder up, you're just going to give up.
Yeah. Now, okay, so what happens when I don't get back to benching 450 as fast as I thought I was going to, and I get pissed off at you and myself, and I feel like quitting?
Yeah, you mean like every conversation I have with people?
Right. I mean, like, is there an instance when you would tell me, go take some time off?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do have people who, are impatient. I myself am one of them, and tend to push themselves a little too hard, or not listen to advice at all, or don't push themselves at all and expect things just to go back to normal. Either way, they're like, no matter how you look at it, they're still impatient and getting towards their goal. So Sometimes that looks like getting a second opinion on something. Sometimes that looks like a very real conversation with someone. I think accountability is a big part of
Sure.
what we're talking about here, but having a real conversation with someone about you need to do this, this, and this, that's why you're not hitting your goal. And no matter how mad they get at you, like, or get with themselves or whatever, like, they just need to hear it.
Right.
And then they can take that information and do what they want with it.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a very, very important part. Um, and that's where professionals like we are huge when it comes to keeping those individuals on track. But it's a fine line because I've worked with people who they struggle with hearing you being straight up with them,
mm-hmm.
and then I've had other people that need that and they thrive off of that. So that's kind of where you have to be a human, not necessarily like a professional. You have to listen to these people and see what they respond best to. And what is it exactly that they need right now? Some people need their hands held a little more, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, that positive talk all the time. You know, you can do this. We're right there. We're on track. And other people just need to hear that, like, hey man, let's bear down and let's just do work. Like, suck it up.
Yep.
You know, there's a whole range in between too. So, I think taking the time to just be a human and listen to these people and see what they really need, and then going from there. But that takes time. That's not something that you learn in college or, you know, you learn in the early part of your career. That just comes with time in your profession and around people.
Yeah, human interaction. I mean,
yeah. Exactly.
When you're helping other people with their goals, you gotta be able to figure people out.
Yeah, and I think experiencing, you know, being able to put yourself in their shoes, which sometimes we can't, right? We're not going to.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard for us to 100% relate to maybe an 80-year-old that is just trying to be independent. We're not 80 years old, right?
Nope.
And we don't feel like they do for the most part. But it's good to be able to experience different things so we can put ourselves in their shoes. Like, training is a huge thing. Like, the fact that we train, we put ourselves under a barbell, we go through injuries, we feel things, we struggle with setting goals and reaching goals. That goes a very long way, even though it's not exactly what they are trying to do. So I think that's a big part too. But no, I think that just gives a lot of perspective on what to do there.
Yeah, I think what else is really cool too is, like you said, like people don't assume that you have their perspective.
Right.
And so when you're trying to help somebody, they will a lot of times look at you as like, well, you don't understand what I'm
mm-hmm.
going through.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to understand what they're going through. You just have to guide them in being independent in accepting what they're going through and then helping them through that part of it.
Sure.
If someone relies on things outside of themselves too much, then they really don't ever get better because they don't own any part of their problem.
Correct.
You know? So,
Correct.
Like, I see that all the time. Like, I have these people that come into therapy and they have, you know, chronic low back pain. It's my favorite thing to treat. I love the person that comes in. They've had PT before. You know, they've had low back pain for 10 years. Nothing makes it better. That's my favorite person to come in through my doors. I love it.
Because it's like a challenge?
I don't know what it is. I just love it.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that come in with that kind of problem, I've noticed, have what's called like an external locus of control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything that's controlling their situation is outside of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't own their situation at all. So they come in and they're like, I need heat. I need ice. I need stim. I need you to rub my back.
Mm-hmm.
I need my wife to do this. I need my kids to do this, you know.
And you're like, no, what do you need to do?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think helping people, just guiding people towards that internal focus, even a little bit, you start to notice improvements. You know, as soon as they start owning their problem, they're like, oh, I can do this instead of you need to do this for me. Yeah. People just start to get better, and that looks different for everybody because everybody's perspective on life is different, situations are different. But if people can start to own their problems and realize that you're not the person fixing them, you're the person guiding them to help them fix themselves,
Right.
Problems can be fixed.
Sure.
You know, and goals can be met. I think that goes, like, not just with physical therapy with pain, but with anything in life. You know, I can't just rely on my coach to lift the weights for me.
Right.
You know, like my all-time goal is to deadlift 5 times my body weight, right? That's a huge reach goal.
It's awesome.
It's a big reach goal. I can't just rely on him to do all this. Like it's not like he's gonna help guide me through it. We've been working together for a while. He knows me very well, but I'm the one doing the work. I'm the one who's got to push myself. I'm the one who's got to take care of myself. I got to be honest with myself if I'm in pain, if I have an injury, if I'm having a good day, if I'm having a bad day. I can't just say, well, coach, this is your fault. You know,
Right.
I wasn't ready for this. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. You know.
Now, where is that? Where do you establish that line? Because you and I both have the coaching mindset, the mentoring mindset, right? Like, it's easy. The easy thing would be to give everybody the answers, right? Hey, do this, 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 and this, and you're going to be fine. But like, where do you take the time, or how much time do you give to each person to teach them so they can rely on their self going forward and not rely on you for everything? Like that's a hard thing to grasp for me because there are some people that some of my friends back home that I still help with lifting and stuff like that, and they'll send me a video of them lifting and they usually like say nothing with it. It's just a video, and I know what they
Yeah.
want. They want me to pick it apart,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what I used to do. But then I got to the point I was like, what good is that doing? Because then, and I don't care if they send me one of those every day. I love doing that. But what good is that if they're sending me something, I'm giving them the answer, and they're not really learning
Yeah.
because they don't have to analyze it themselves. So I got to a point and I was like, tell me what you see. Tell me what you think. And then, people really start learning that way. So, when you're working with patients, is there a time when maybe you're like trying to educate them? Are you taking like extra 10, 15 minutes out of that session to try to teach them new things? Or is it mainly kind of giving them the answer straight up?
Again, I think it kind of depends. I hate saying that for every answer,
No,
but
no,
it
that's
kind of
cool. Yeah.
does. A lot of times, the way I like to do things is I don't like to overload people and be like, "This is your problem. You own it." You know,
Mm-hmm.
like we just kind of casually go about it, and like through our conversations and making them do the work and making them work hard. I do push my patients
Mm-hmm.
pretty hard. If any of them ever listen to this, they would agree.
That's good.
um, but like making them do the work so they can see for themselves, like, oh, this is something I'm capable of. I can maybe push this a little harder.
Right.
And sometimes I don't mind when someone comes in one day and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sore. I did way too much." I was like, "Well, why'd you do too much?" And they're like, "Well, I realized like I could lift my arm up overhead, and we were doing it with 2 pound weights. So I had some fives at home, and I just went after, and I did a
Yeah.
hundred of them."
Right.
And I'm like, "Okay, a little too
Let's
much,
find a
but
happy
good
medium.
job,
Yeah,
you know."
exactly.
So, yeah, I think you can't always just throw everything at someone and have them own it, but I do think some people need that.
Yeah.
But I like to just do it through just conversation as
Mm-hmm.
we put in the work together, slowly let them own their own
Yeah.
goals, their own problems, whatever, and then just use me as a guide instead of the person doing all the work.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I think those are all really, really good points. And kind of to get back to, our goal setting and small goal setting and things like that. Another thing that just came to mind was when we were discussing how, in order to achieve those goals, you have to have your priorities set, right? Um, if I say I want to squat 800 pounds, all right, what what do my priorities outside of the gym need to look like in order to do that? The easiest the easiest part of all of that is coming to the gym and training every day.
Yep.
That's easy. Anybody can walk through the door
Hmm.
and grab the weights and push themselves, right? But that's a very small percentage of what needs to be done. And when you leave the gym, when that session's over, that's when everything else comes into play. So
Yeah.
if I do everything in the gym and then I go home and I lay around and I eat like shit and I'm staying up all night watching TV, I'm not drinking enough water, you know,
My patients need to listen to this.
um, everything I just did went out the window. So having goals is one thing, but organizing your priorities around that goal is the huge part of it. So when you're sitting down and one of the best things you can do is like write everything out because then it's set in stone. You won't forget. It's always there, hanging up on your wall by a light switch or something. I don't care, but write your goal, then write your small goals about what you're going to check off in order to get to that big goal, and then set your priorities. Set your daily regimen, or whatever, around how you're going to achieve those small goals. And that's a part that's often left out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. I think the hardest part in goal setting is knowing what to set, right? Everybody has like the big goal. Like, I want to lose 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I think an easy way to break that down, or at least this is how I explain it to like patients and friends and stuff, is like, okay, we have this giant goal that we're gonna achieve. Awesome, good for you. Let's go for it. What are 3 things you are gonna do every single day
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
reach that? Just 3 daily goals, right? You don't
Yep.
need any more than that, right? So for me, for all the lifting stuff that I want to do, I need to make sure that I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. I need to make sure that I'm eating at least 150 grams of protein a day. And then I like to make sure that if I have any aches and pains, that I'm addressing them every day, right?
Definitely. Yep.
Because I like, my job is active, sedentary, but I'm taking care of other people all
Mm-hmm.
day, or helping them take care of themselves, since we were talking that way.
Yep. Yep.
Um, like, you don't really focus on yourself, and then when you get home, the last thing you want to do is like address those things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those are my 3 daily checklists. You have your daily checklist. From there, you need to have short-term goals. Okay, so like, you have one big long-term goal. You don't need to put a time on it. You just know that you have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is something that I want to be able to do in the next 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? So say I want to be able to deadlift 635 pounds in the next 2 months. I'm real close right now,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So I can set that as a goal for myself. Does it mean that I have to necessarily like go and try it? No, but like, there's might be other markers that I have that might tell me I'm close.
Yep.
And you don't even have to do it in the next 2 months, but you can set it there so that you're keeping track of where you are. Then you can have a goal for like, what do I want to be able to do in the next year,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so as long as you have your daily goals, a few short-term goals, and maybe a few long-term goals,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep progressing towards those, and like you said, have your little check boxes,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to start to track your progress towards your big goal. And as little hiccups come up, you can address them, right? So I don't always hit my daily goals, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Sometimes I get 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes I don't always get my meals in, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm hurting and I don't do anything about it.
Right.
So, you just, the next day I make sure I do them.
Yeah.
The world's not over if you don't hit a goal.
Correct.
You
Correct.
just make a new one or get back at it.
Yeah. And you said something good in there, about progress, right? Measuring your progress. Well, that's something that's hard to do sometimes,
Mhm.
right? We're just using this as an example, but as competitive powerlifters, it's easy for us to judge our progress on the weight on the bar.
Yep.
But that's probably the last way we should really be judging it. In the big picture, the grand scheme of things, there's only a couple times a year that's what we're doing is trying to hit a big weight,
A maximum
in a lift,
attempt,
right?
yeah.
But that's not something we're doing all the time. So we have to find other ways to judge our progress. That could be in even something as simple as adding an extra set. Let's say we did 3 sets of 5 reps at 200 pounds last week. Well, this week, if we do 4 sets of 5 reps at 200 pounds, that's progress, right? If we cut down the rest period in between our sets, right? So if last week it took me 3 minutes to recover from in between sets,
Mhm.
this week it's taken me 2.5 minutes. Man, that's progress. That's great progress. It means I'm getting more conditioned. If I can get my workout done in a shorter period of time, that's progress. So it's not always. I think in this field, in this profession,
It's the weight on the bar.
it's the weight on the bar, and then it's like the weight on the scale,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Those are the 2 biggest things. Probably the last 2 things that we should really be
Yeah.
measuring progress, right?
Yeah.
For example, I was telling you about the young lady, one of our members, who I'm kind of mentoring a little bit, giving her some guidance. And she came to me a couple months ago and she said, "Curtis, I want to lose 80 pounds." I was like, "Awesome." She was like, "You think that's possible?" 100%. It's definitely possible. And we talked about how she was going to get there. And I asked her what her goals were. What besides that, what were some of her smaller goals? And she said, "Well, I want to learn how to lift weights. I want to learn how to, do weight training, barbell movements, dumbbell movements, stuff like that. I want to build muscle. So I want to, when I feel my arms, I want to feel some muscle in there." And we talked about how initially those things can kind of go against each other. right? So the last thing you want to do if you've never really weight trained and you're trying to lose weight is look at the scale.
Yep.
All right, that can be a false indicator. So what did she do? Right, she texts me and she goes, "Hey Curtis, I've been training 4 days a week for a month straight," and I was like, "Awesome, you made it through the hardest part." And she goes, "I didn't see a single pound change on the scale." So that's something I can't 100% relate with that because I've never really had the goal of losing weight. I've had the goal of gaining weight, and I still have the goal of gaining weight. So that's how I can relate. But you kind of got to put yourself in their shoes, and you got to go back and you look at what you wrote down
Yeah.
for your goals and your plan of attack. Now with her, I said we need to figure out how to judge your progress. And she goes, "Okay, so what do you think I've progressed in?" And I go, "Well, how do you feel?" "Man, I feel great. I'm working out 4 to 5 days a
Check.
week." Check. And you're writing this stuff down. She goes, "I felt my arms the other day, and they felt like tighter. Felt muscle." Check. Write that down. She goes, "I can do 30 minutes a day of cardio, and I couldn't do that before."
Check.
That's another one. And she goes, "But I want to be able to physically see something going on with my body." And I said, "All right, we can weigh ourselves, but we're only going to do it at the end of each month. All right? What I want you to do is I want you to take measurements because measurements are a better indicator anyway." So I taught her how to do a chest measurement, waist measurement, hips, and she wanted to do her arms and her legs. So I made sure she only, you got to do the same side each time. You can't go right arm and then left arm or right arm then left leg. And so she came back to me after a while and was like, "Hey, I've already saw a difference in my measurements, even though I haven't seen a difference on the scale." Boom, there you go. So if we didn't have those things established, she might have given up by now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She could have very easily been like, "I've been working out 4 to 5 days a week for a month, and not a single thing has improved."
Nothing's happened.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
So-
easy to get stuck in that hole.
right. And if you don't have these things listed out and laid out so they can see them, it's hard for you to say, "Hey, keep working."
Yeah.
Why the hell do they want to keep working if
Yeah.
nothing's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where you, as the coach, as a trainer, as a professional, need to always be able to have these conversations with your clients and patients.
Yeah.
So that's
I've actually had patients in PT that like they come in and they just need to lose weight, honestly.
Mhm.
Like if they lose weight, their problems are going to go
Mhm.
not totally away, but mostly away, right? And some of them, they start lifting weights and doing stuff. Like they'll finish PT, they'll be feeling pretty good. They go to a gym, and then they'll come back in and they'll be like, "Man, I'm not getting any lighter," like you said. I'm like, "Well, you look great." That's
Yeah.
usually the first thing I notice when they come
Yeah.
in. I'm like, "You look great," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And so what I'll end up talking to them about is I was like, take a selfie in the mirror.
Mhm.
Like just get down to your underwear,
Mhm.
take a selfie of yourself, and then don't look at it for a month.
Yes.
And then the next month, take the same picture
Yeah.
and then compare the two and see
Mhm.
what you think, A lot of times that's a good telltale where you're at.
Well, when you look at yourself every day, you're not
Mhm.
going to see a difference.
No.
When you're living in your body, you can't tell a difference.
Yep.
Unless you have something for reference.
Mhm.
And it is crazy when you get on the scale, not a thing has changed. You look at yourself, not a thing has changed. And then you go out and you see people you haven't seen in a month or two. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you look great." And the worst is like, your grandmother or your aunt that always tries to compliment you.
Yeah.
And they're like, "You look so skinny. You look great." And you're like, "Damn it, Grandma."
Trying to gain weight
Yeah.
here.
But they clearly see something that you're
Yeah.
doing right. They're just trying to compliment you. They just don't
Yeah.
know how to do it. So shout out to all the grandmas and aunts. Thanks for your support.
My grandma just force feeds me. She's like, "You're too thin. Here, eat more.
Well,
You need this."
she's a good grandmother. Then. You know what I mean? That's what they're for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So let's dive into like ourselves.
Okay.
All right. By now, everybody knows that we compete in powerlifting, and you don't have to even understand the sport as a whole to understand how what we're about to go over can help you in whatever it is that you're doing, and in life.
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest things that powerlifting has taught me, is it's taught me life lessons. At times when I wasn't getting stronger, or at times when I was getting injured, I was becoming better at life. And it's crazy,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes you want to be mad and you're like, I want to quit powerlifting. I don't even know why I do this. But you realize like you're learning a lot.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your goals, and what is going to be your plan of attack to establish that and
Sorry,
to
my nose is itchy.
you need some ammonia?
Yeah,
We
actually.
didn't get any requests, by the way.
Come on,
A
guys.
little upset about that.
Ammonia requests.
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
So, as far as powerlifting goes, I kind of have a bunch of random goals, but my two big goals is I want to total 10 times my body weight in a meet.
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, so that would be technically 1480, but I want like 1500 is just kind of a cool number,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So 1500 in a meet, and I want to be able to deadlift 5 times my body weight.
Which
Once
would
I hit
be-
those,
would be-
so if I weighed in at 148, it would be 740.
Yeah.
So I'm nowhere near that yet, but
But-
I don't care. It's fun. It's something to work to, you know.
You're really not all that far away. You're closer to that than you are from probably the first deadlift you did in a competition.
Uh, First deadlift I did in a meet was 500 pounds.
Okay. So you're
About in the middle.
yeah, not too far.
Not too
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
Yep. So those are like my two big goals. I'd also love to, like right now I can't squat 500 pounds. I owe 10 push-ups for that. For those of you that don't know, the C word, CAN''T, if you say it in my clinic in a way that is limiting yourself, you have to do 10 push-ups or squats based on who you are. So I have to do 10.
Nice.
But I want to squat 500 pounds. I'd like to be able to bench 350. The most I've ever hit in the gym was like 335, and in a meet was 320. So I'd like to be able to hit that. So those are like kind of my big goals. I like to be strong as a little guy. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to max out the amount of strength I can have at my weight before I think about kind of jumping up weight classes or whatever I need to do to hit my goals.
Yeah.
But
So knowing what your goals are, what do you think are some areas of improvement that you could focus on to get to those goals?
sleep,
Yeah,
big one.
I think that's both you and I. I think I've texted you at like 11:30 one night, and you're like, "Oh, I'm just hanging out."
Yep.
I'm like, "Dude, but you're opening the gym at 5 a.m. tomorrow."
Yep. So sleep is definitely something that's, like I said before, one of my daily goals. Get sleep. It's how your
Now-
body recovers.
Okay, real quick. Why is sleep so important?
It's-
And what all does it affect?
I mean, that's a whole new podcast, man.
Yeah, okay.
Sleep affects everything.
All right.
It's how your body heals itself. You need good sleep, so that means setting aside a little bit of time to wind down at night before you go to bed, so that you get like solid sleep. Don't drink before you go to bed. Sleeping after you've been drinking a little bit, even like a little bit tipsy, doesn't allow you to get your full REM cycle. Try not to even like drink a ton of water before you go to bed, so you're not interrupting your sleep to get up and go pee. I know we want to stay hydrated, but kind of cut yourself off a little bit before bed. Things like that. Sleep's so important. You do want to have those at least 6 to 10 hours blocked off. Based on your age, you don't always need 8 hours. You know, older people struggle sometimes getting 2.
Right.
So my goal for some of my older patients is let's try to get you to like 4 to 6 hours a night.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's how your body recovers, and without sleep, like for example, I notice if I sleep between 3 and 5 hours a night chronically for, I won't say chronically, but for like 3 to 5 days, like consecutively, I start to get tendonitis flare-ups real bad.
Wow.
My body starts to feel like it's broken down. I actually like can't, like my thoughts are cloudy too. Like I can't even process half of my emotions, I think,
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
point.
So
So-
I think I do not have a PhD in this or anything, but a lot of it cycles back to your hormones, things like insulin sensitivity, inflammation. It's all in one circle, and it all affects the body. And when you deprive yourself of sleep, all those things kind of start flaring
Yeah.
up and going in the opposite direction.
And even for people, like we talked about losing weight, this is kind of like we're rabbit trailing a little bit, but when you don't sleep, you actually, like your hunger cravings and stuff go up. So when you're fatigued, you do start to feel more hungry. You want to snack more. You want to binge eat more. So get sleep. Sleep is important.
All right.
So sleep
Yeah,
is
sleep
one
is
of my
huge.
goals that I struggle with.
Yeah.
What are some other goals I try to hit? Like the food we try to do every day. Try to address things every day.
Now that's got to be hard with you trying to stay within a given weight class.
Uh, Actually, not really. So I did
Okay.
try to bulk up one time when I was
Uh-huh.
in grad school. I did my best. Didn't I think the heaviest I ever weighed in on the scale was 165. That was after eating a pint of Ben and Jerry's, an entire large pizza, and having all of my clothes on and drinking a bunch of water. So,
Nice.
so I was like full of salt and sugar
Yeah,
and
yeah,
bloated and had all my clothes on.
yeah.
So I'm not good at weighing that much.
Right, right, right.
But yeah. So yeah. I mean, I try to eat relatively clean. Um, Rice, chicken, beef, vegetables,
Hmm.
fish, things like that. I don't exactly count my macros,
Hmm.
actually. My coach, Rob Polenic at Brutal Iron Gym, shout coach, he's kind of given me some guidelines. He does a lot with nutrition.
Hmm.
So he's given me some guidelines with like just portion sizes.
Hmm.
I'm hungry like all the time.
I can
So
imagine.
instead of
Yeah.
trying to count stuff, he's just like, just make sure this is on your plate when you eat.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And then I get like one cheat meal a week, which is like 2,000 calories or more in a meal
Hmm.
or something. So usually I
Yeah.
just eat pizza or
Sure.
pie or something that doesn't.
Right, right. So
But
as I mean, so as a strength athlete, like making sure you are eating enough.
yeah, uh,
Yeah, that's
again,
probably the biggest thing.
yeah, again, like food is how you recover too.
Yeah.
So like when I am trying to make weight for a meet, I do taper like the amount of junk food and crap that I eat.
Hmm.
Like right now, I just kind of eat whatever I want.
Yep.
When I'm trying to stay healthy for a meet, I taper like my junk food and like my meal timing. Even I
Hmm.
found that helps me a lot. Um, I eat cleaner. I actually like lose any body fat that I have just goes away, but I don't lose any strength at all, and
Hmm.
I feel great. So like food helps me recover. I feel better through the day. It actually helps my thought clarity,
Yep.
like when I'm at
Yep.
work and stuff.
Definitely.
So yeah, food and sleep are my two biggest things daily.
Okay. Cool. What about as far as training goes? Do you have a? Are there maybe some things in your training that you need to work on to maybe hit weaknesses, or you feel like you're on a good track and you're just going to continue what you've been working on with your coach?
Um, oh boy, weaknesses. Got a lot of weaknesses. so so my bench has been garbage recently. Let's go with that one.
Okay.
So I had a pec injury, probably 6 months ago, I'd say now. That like I couldn't really get under a bench more than like 135 pounds without feeling it like it was just gonna pop.
Hmm.
So we had to like backtrack a whole bunch. Was able to do like some dumbbell pressing, some floor pressing. Keep in mind my goals haven't changed. I still want to bench 350 at some
Hmm.
point. But like right now, like in the most recent meet, I think I hit 281 and I couldn't even move 295 or whatever it
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
Um, so like we had to backtrack a lot, and now I'm starting to work on building my chest and triceps back up a little bit,
Hmm.
just because we couldn't hit them as hard. Like my pec was holding me back,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then COVID hit, and then I really couldn't like push the weights.
Hmm.
So I was just doing push-ups and stuff all the time. So it's coming, but
Sure.
it's a process.
So then, with your bench, if your main goal is to build your bench, sometimes it's not always about benching more.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's about getting out from under the bar and doing some isolation movement and some accessories that are going to target and build those certain areas that you need for benching.
So actually, it's funny you say that. 1 to 2 days a week. I'm trying to do it too. I do a push-up routine that
Mhm.
coach has me doing to just it's forearm push-ups for the triceps,
Mhm.
right? Diamond push-ups, wide push-ups, and that's just a circuit. And I do
Nice.
3 rounds, and it's for time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So last week was 30 seconds at each one, just
Mhm.
as many as I could do in 30 seconds. This week was 40 seconds. It's horrible. I hate my life. I'm so sore. Next week's 50, and then the week after that is like I'm going for a full minute,
Yeah.
right? And that's just to outside of the gym. I can do it anywhere. I have no excuse
Right.
not to be able to hit that, and I
Mhm.
love it because I can do it at my lunch break at work. I could
Mhm.
do it at home while Maggie and I are watching Netflix. Can kind of do it anywhere. So out of the weight room, as far as training goes, I actually train outside of the weight room
Yeah.
and just do a push-up routine 1 to 2 times a week just to help
Sure.
my bench.
Sure. Cool. Cool. I think it's important to understand that like if your goal, if you have a lifting goal, or even like let's say like a running goal
Hmm.
or a cycling goal or whatever, sometimes doing or sometimes not doing that thing that you're trying to get better at is what will ultimately help you make progress.
Yeah.
So with me, one of my goals was to One of my goals is to have an 800-pound deadlift, and I think I'm there. I just haven't really tested it yet.
I'll
But
beat you.
you'll be, yeah. We actually have this bet going on. But so I found that the more I deadlifted, as far as the frequency, how often I deadlifted, was making things worse. When I started dropping back the number of days that I deadlifted, or how much time I spent each deadlift session actually deadlifting, my deadlift started going up. Not just my strength, but my technique was improving too. So this past meet prep, I deadlifted for, I think, 8 weeks straight. And when I got towards the end, my form was breaking down, my strength wasn't there, and things like that. So that's a perfect example. As like a younger lifter, you might not know that. You might not realize that, especially with kind of modern programming is a lot about frequency. So I've seen some younger lifters deadlift like 2 to 3 times a week, or benching 4 times a week. I think for a very small population of people that can work, but only for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And then if you want to progress, how do you progress from there? You can't bench more times a week, and you can't put more weight on the bar, right? You're going to get injured. So that's when you have to take a day away, and then on those fewer days, put more emphasis on it, or use different variations, right? So if you're benching 4 days a week, you can't do the flat bench, every single day.
Yeah.
You gotta throw in variations. Maybe you're doing a floor press. Maybe you're doing an incline press. Maybe you're doing long pause or tempos. So I kind of got off track there, but sometimes it's about doing less of what it is that you're trying to get better at.
Yeah, and I think like if we're talking about lifting goals, everybody, like, social media has probably been like the worst thing in the world for lifting goals.
For sure.
I think it puts unrealistic expectations on people. Like, I can deadlift a decent amount of weight right now. I do not hit anywhere close to that every time I deadlift in the gym, right?
Right.
And some days 100 pounds less than my max feels like my max. And that just is what it is.
But then you go on social media.
Yeah.
When you go home.
Yeah.
And you're seeing people, hit these max deadlifts every single day, and you're like, well, what the hell,
Yeah.
And then, if you weren't to the level you are, and you weren't as experienced and intelligent as you are, you'd probably walk your ass from your house right back into the gym and try it the very next day.
I used to be like that. I'm not going to lie, because I'm just very, I don't know, self-competitive. Yeah. But, yeah, so, like, you gotta know your own goals better. Like, how do I want to say this? You just got to pick your goals and follow them knowing yourself, not caring what anybody else is doing or saying. You got to know how you recover, right? Everybody recovers differently, too. Some people can lift more frequently. Other people can only hit, deadlifts once every other week or something like that. Some people can squat every day. I cannot squat every day, and I know that about myself. I've tried it. It's not fun. So, like, knowing how you recover, knowing how you respond to load. Like, I respond to volume a lot better than most lifters do, and there's a lot of people who respond to, they can go into the gym and their workout is like 3 singles, and then they might do some pull-ups, and then they're done, and they're like strong as anything. That's not me.
Right.
I have to have a decent amount of volume in my programming. I have to, circuit training does me pretty well. So you just got to know yourself.
And that's the beauty of all this. I think to come back and sum everything up, you can set your goals, your big and your small goals. You can get your priorities in order. You can set your plan of attack, and that doesn't guarantee that it's going to work the first time. And that's where the learning process comes in. You might have to go through that trial and error a couple different times and change 1 or 2 variables each time to really find out what works for you. But that's the beauty of what we do, and that's the beauty of life, and that's how it's all together, right? It's, I just checked a big one off of a 2,000-pound total. we'll talk about that next podcast. But it was my 15th powerlifting meet, right? My first meet that I did, I totaled 1,300 pounds, and it's taken me 7 years to put 700 pounds on my total. Now, Some people have done it way faster than that, right?
Mhm.
And they may say, Kurt, you did something wrong. Well, I'm sure I did. I know I did. I could have done things more efficiently, but the way that I did it, I learned so much that it set me up to be able to do what I just did.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing to remember when you're setting your goals, is that it's not always going to work out the first or second or third time,
No.
but you have to keep working, and it's cliche, but don't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it
I
all
mean,
comes
life
down
is
to.
not linear.
Yeah,
You know, you're
yeah.
never just on that straight path
Yep, exactly.
ever.
I think some of the best progress has come when you're in the bottom.
Yeah.
When you're in the bottom and you don't know what to do and you don't know which direction to go, and you just force yourself to crawl out, and then you look back after a certain point, you're like, holy shit, I came back from that and I didn't know how, and now I have all this knowledge that I've learned and that I can pass on to people.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Mhm.
That's so far beyond just lifting weights.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's to sum it up, establish your goals, set your plan, measure your progress.
Always find ways to measure your progress.
Yep.
Short term, long term,
Yep.
daily. I think daily is important.
Daily is huge. That's one I need to do better with. If you're not sure how to measure your progress, if you have goals, let us know.
Hey, if you
It
need
do-
someone to keep you accountable,
Yeah,
let us
yeah.
know. That's an accountability partner is
I'll
important.
text you every week, right? Send me your videos.
Yeah.
I'll critique them. I'll help with anything I can, and so will Jared. So, but if you need any advice about anything we've been talking about, just reach out to us, man. We're not gonna take your money. We do this because we love it.
Yeah,
You
it's
know what I
fun.
mean? Yeah. So, if you guys have any questions about anything, if there's anything you want us to go over, you holler at us and you let us know.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add, man?
Holla. That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Oh my God.